Hey girl, so glad that you tuned in. My name's Bethany and this is the Make Up Your Mind channel. You're listening to episode number 32. Whether you're actually putting on your makeup, maybe you're getting ready for work or school, wherever life finds you today, I hope that you remember that there are people in the world that are for you, that are cheering you on to succeed. Today, I hope that I can be one of those people standing like a cheerleader on the sideline of your life, helping you to make up your mind all day long about the small things that add up to huge things later on. We are in a series right now on social media. This is our third episode, and today I'm so excited for what we have to talk about. Today's title is Throwing Gas on the Fire. So let's get to it. Okay, girl, real quick, let's talk about eyebrows. You guys have heard many times that I don't have any eyebrows. I think I've talked to you about it in a couple of different episodes, talking about the different eyebrow pencils that I've used and products that I've used to try and get natural looking eyebrows. Well, I came across something brand new that my sister introduced me to. Maybe you're aware, but you can tint your eyebrows. So I don't have very many eyebrows. My eyebrows are very blonde, very thin, not a lot of hairs in general. But I tried this. It's just a small little kit that you mix the different color and the applicator and stuff, and you paint it on your eyebrows, and it actually tinted the little individual hairs and made my eyebrows, I think, look a little bit more natural. So now I still fill it in, but it looks a little more defined. If you're interested in this is just $11 on Amazon. It's called the Tint Kit. I will link it in the show notes for you. If you think that you're going to try this, you should definitely DM me and I will give you some tips on what to do and what not to do, because I've already made a couple of mistakes. And let me tell you, it was kind of crazy. It stains your skin. Just be aware. But it's a great thing if you don't have a lot of eyebrows like me. So there we go. Makeup tip of the day, Tint Kit. So, throwing gas on the fire. What do you guys think that topic is going to be about today? That's right, we are talking about toxic social media. I know we've all been there. We're talking about how arguing on all forms of social media is just not the way to go. I was doing some research before I wrote this podcast on arguing on social media platforms, and I read a couple articles, and let's just be honest, we all know that the one that people argue on most is Facebook. Sure, some arguments definitely happen on Twitter and some debates on Instagram, but social media as a whole, Facebook is known to be the place where people go and have their arguments. I started by reading an article that was written by Forbes back in 2019. I will attach the article to the show notes as well. So it is a little bit outdated, but I think the main concepts definitely still apply and maybe have even been magnified during this last year, 2020, during the crazy pandemic that has just heightened all the reasons that we can have arguments. The article said this: according to a survey that was done, Facebook is among the most toxic social media platforms, with 70% of its respondents saying that it is somewhat toxic. 69% of social media users surveyed and said ignoring toxic posts was the best course of action, while 45% said they would unfriend or unfollow that particular person. Nobody likes the fact that people have arguments on social media. Only 18% said that they would leave a constructive comment, while 17% said that they would report the person. Fortunately, only 7% said that they would leave a negative comment in response, which is too often akin to throwing gas on the fire. Later on in the article, it talks about the various topics that people may or may not argue about, as well as the fact that people tend to argue with more fierceness and veracity on platforms like social media because they're not face to face. Have you ever seen one of these arguments go down on social media? What was it about? Can you remember? Was it about politics, masks, vaccines, abortion, gender, or racism? Or maybe it was about religion. Any number of things can be argued about on social media. Arguments can happen all over social media about these various hot topics. But what a lot of people don't stop and think about is the consequences to what they're arguing might do. They don't have any idea that there might be a negative consequence to the fact that they're arguing. Most people get really passionate about something that's being said online. I mean, you could probably get passionate about any number of those topics that I just listed because everyone has an opinion. And let me tell you what, those are all super fiery topics just naturally. Everybody has an opinion about politics. Everybody has an opinion about religion. Whether their opinion is super strong or not as strong, everybody has an opinion. So what happens when we throw gas on the fire in a public setting like a social media platform? I, for one, want to believe that we can be adults when talking about these hard topics on social media, whether you're an adult or maybe you're not. We can still be mature enough to have a discussion rather than a full-blown argument around these harder topics. I hope and I wish that we could have conversations that were constructive, that maybe brought new ideas into people's minds where people could actually learn and accept new ideas from one another. But unfortunately, that is most of the time not the case. Most of the conversations that I have witnessed on social media that turned into arguments aren't civil, they aren't mature, and most people are just ripping into each other without actually hearing the other person. In that same Forbes article, they actually talk about what happens after one of those big blow-ups happen, when there's a ton of gasoline added to the fire of someone's opinion on social media. Usually, the people that are involved, going back and forth on this feed, end up losing all credibility. Other people are reading this. It's a public place. And all those people involved end up losing most of their credibility because anyone reading can see right through the argument. There have been so many times this last year during 2020 when topics have gotten so heated that I've almost wanted to just go make a bowl of popcorn and just start eating it while I read people's comments back and forth to one another because they're so fierce and they're so intense and they're so one-sided. And usually I end up like, whoa, that was really intense. And I can definitely see by the end of the argument both sides. Usually I can see both people's perspective after reading the whole string, but the problem is that neither one of those people can see the other's perspective, and they both end up losing credibility with each other and all the people that are reading their comments. So my question for you today is it worth it to lose your voice in order to win an argument on social media? And what I mean by losing your voice is losing your credibility, losing your respect with other people that might be watching your life. This is the real issue with throwing gas on the fire. We can lose our credibility. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying to be a pushover or not stand up for things that you really believe in. That's not at all what I'm saying. I believe it's deeply important for you to know what you believe and why you believe it, and be able to articulate that to someone in a clear way. I think a lot of us think that it might be really valiant to take a super strong stand on some sort of an issue, whether it's LGBT rights, maybe it's abortion, maybe it's religion, maybe it's masks or vaccines or whatever. Some of us think it's super valiant to take a strong stance to defend what we believe in because it's really important. We think it's super noble to make a statement just so everybody else knows where we stand. But the thing is that any post about any number of stances is actually just fuel to the fire on social media. Any of them could start a heated debate, like at any moment. And what we have to consider is, in the end, is it worth losing our voice to a specific human or group of humans, all because we wanted to take a stand on social media? In the end, did you actually accomplish anything by making that post? In the end, was someone or something made better because you posted that? No, usually you just made enemies and that's about it. The cause was not moved forward, and in fact, sometimes you even silence the voice of Jesus in someone else's life. Whoa, that's a strong statement. But if you really take time to think it through, what if you, my friend, are the only voice of Jesus in someone's life? And because you chose to make a strong statement on social media that didn't really need to be said, Maybe now someone has completely cut you out of their life. Maybe you completely lost credibility with them because you decided to take a super strong stand just on social media. Here's the real filter I'd ask you to think about. The Word of God calls us to be Jesus's ambassadors to this world. What is an ambassador? It's someone who represents a nation and is able to speak on behalf of that nation wherever they are. For us, if you call yourself a Christian, we are the ambassadors of the kingdom of heaven. If I get super uptight about a political mess that's going on in the world here and now, that I make a super strong, important stance on social media, an important post about how I feel about everything, what does that do to my voice to those who have the opposite perspective? In a lot of ways, those people are actually going to start tuning me out. My voice gets silenced on the things that matter most. And what are those things that matter most? What is it that we have to come back to that is the most important message? It's the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. And just hear me out, ladies. I am not trying to discredit the importance of these issues that cause these heated debates, because they are important. They're important things that we should be talking about. But if you boil down what I'm saying, social media is not the place to have the argument. It's not the place to take a polarized stance, because anything that could be taken the wrong way will be taken the wrong way on social media. It won't solve any issues, and in fact, it could do a ton of damage in someone else's life. So I'd ask you, consider your voice. Consider who's watching. Consider who is following you and who you're friends with. Consider which hill you're actually going to die on. I personally try to guard my voice very carefully. There's only a couple of hills that I really feel are worth dying on. For me, I always want to be a person who can speak to many different types of people where my voice still has credibility. And that's because I care about people's eternity. I care more that they hear me in the right moment so that Jesus can speak to them through me. So girl, here is my challenge. Next time you're going to make that post because you're all fired up about something, you're going to get into an argument and righteously defend the cause of whatever it is that you're fired up about. Just remember, take a pause and think about who you might be pushing away in the process. Remember, it's always people over problems. Is it worth losing your relationship over that post? Think it through. If you have to calm down because you're so worked up about this particular issue, put your phone down. Go listen to my episode on conflict resolution earlier on in the year. It'll be great for you to remember to just take a breather before you respond. This is 2 Corinthians 5:20, and it says this: God has given us the task of telling everyone what he is doing. We are Christ's representatives or ambassadors. God uses us to persuade men and women to drop their differences and enter into God's work of making things right between them. We're speaking for Christ himself now. Become friends with God because he's already a friend with you. Girl, it was so good to get to chat with you again today. Remember, as always, that you are valuable and you are seen and loved. Share this episode with somebody that you know. Tag them in it and something on Make Up Your Mind. Give me some stars, give me some reviews, drop some comments, and be sure to subscribe wherever you're consuming this content. I cannot wait to continue to talk about social media with you guys, but the most important announcement is that next week is my anniversary, and we will not be having an episode as normal because I decided to take the day off and spend the day with my husband. Also, I have someone super special coming on the channel. You'll have to follow me on Instagram so you can get some fun hints about who is joining me talking about social media. So look forward to seeing you the following week. As always, it was great to talk with you, and I'll catch you later.